ライオン神エスカノール様だ。震えるさ。
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Critic Alex, and today I am not doing PvP matches, but I am talking about something really important to PvP, and that is PvP food. Because there's a ton of different food that you can bring into the game for pretty much any content, but especially in PvP, the food that you eat or don't eat will matter a lot, and also the food that your opponent eats and the way that you can read that and you can make plays and you can better prepare yourself for those will actually matter a lot now and even more so in the future. So I want to cover basically the top 7, top 8 different foods that you should be thinking about eating for different situations, different PvP scenarios, so that you can be better prepared to do as well as you can in PvP in terms of win-loss ratio, but also get the most rewards out of the game because of the #1 food. And if you watch me, if you watch Sekapoko, if you watch Kabatu, all these people, you will know exactly what the #1 food is to eat. So I'm gonna, it's sort of like a ranking. It's like a personal ranking. It's not actually necessarily the best, worst. But anyways, starting off at #1 for the sort of, you know, Critic Alex's best, Cynic Alex's best food to eat, coin food. This is fried chicken. There's glazed chicken, fried chicken, and there's another type. This is called coin food because it increases the fight coin gain, like the fight festival coins that you gain when you win by 1000%. So instead of getting 3 coins for a win, you get 33 coins for a win. So you should always eat at least fried chicken. You should never PvP without any food. I've made that mistake a couple of times, but please don't make that mistake. Always fight with at least fried chicken as the consumed meal. Why? Because it's 10 times the number of points for a win. Now, it's not 10 times the number of points here in terms of your win-loss, but it's 10 times the number of coins. So if you win once with any other type of food, you get 3 fight festival coins. If you win once with this, you get 33. So you're gonna have to win 11 times to make up the number of coins that you get from a single win with coin food, with fried chicken or glazed chicken or whatever the other one is. So that's why coin food is so valuable. And then I don't need to tell you, if you've done any PvP in this game, if you've watched any videos, this is why, well, not this. This is why you want to get as much coin food, this is why you want to eat as much coin food to therefore get as many fight festival coins as possible. You should be aiming for at minimum 200 of these anvils a week, which means you have to buy the full amount here, which costs 2,000 fight festival coins. And then if you want to be even more aggressive, and if you have a little bit of a spender, you can use 1 diamond to refresh this every week, and you can get 400. So I'm getting 400 anvils a week because I'm able to farm up 4,000, actually more than 4,000 of the fight festival coins. So coin food is by far the #1 food that you should be eating for almost all types of PvP, both ungeared and geared PvP. It really does not matter. Once you've hit your bracket, like your whatever ranking you're going for, once you've hit that, you should immediately start eating for coin food. And if you can, you know, if your team is built up enough, you should try to climb using coin food, because like I said, 1 win is equal to 11 wins using any other type of food, because no other type of food is going to increase the number of coins that you get. So okay, you want to climb, you can't use coin food, you're getting crushed without coin food. So what is maybe like the second most popular food to eat when you PvP if you're really trying to get a leg up? It's probably going to be alt gauge food. There's honey apple pies, there's another type of pie, and there's another type of thing. It's some sweet cherry pie or something like that. But it basically gives you 1 extra ultimate move gauge. It acts like Green Merlin's passive, the unstable samples. So instead of starting at 0, if you go first, you'll start with 1. If you go second, instead of starting with 1 orb, you'll start with 2. So this is a really important one to know, like not only know how it works, but also to be able to recognize it for your opponent. Because this one's the easiest one to spot, it's the fastest one to spot, and it's the one that's going to give you so much information. Because it's kind of like poker. If you know that your opponent used a honey apple pie, you know that they didn't use coin food. Well, not that it matters, but they're not being efficient. But you also know that they didn't use HP food, they didn't use attack food, they didn't use defense food, they didn't use evasion food. You can basically rule out all of the other foods because you know that you can't eat 2 foods, right? Unless there's some secret ultra whale way to eat 2 foods. No, there isn't. So there's no way, right? So that is something that's really important to realize right away. And you can also realize it, usually it pairs with alt rush team compositions. So if you see, you know, Kingbrum, they love to alt rush. If you see Diane and King, that's also a popular alt rush combination because they both have massive damage AoE ults. So this one's really important. You can obviously use this to climb if you're having trouble winning without it. And of course, it helps if you can pair this with Green Merlin as a sub or as a main, because again, it's going to put you at 2 or 3 orbs. If you go second, you start at 3 orbs. That means if you get a little bit of luck with your card placements, you can get 2 characters' alts on turn 1. That amount of rush and that amount of pressure that you put on your opponent is huge. So that's why a lot of people run alt rush food. I don't really like it particularly. I think that it kind of dumbs down the game a little bit too much, and it just makes it like a rush to your ult for everyone, and you ignore the rest of the cards that they have and the other things at play. But it's definitely popular. The third most popular food I would say that people consume right now, at least for what we have in global, is HP food. And again, there's different types of HP food. There's like raisins, there's raisins with sugar, etc. HP food is really good for 2 reasons. One, it's going to give you 10% HP, which is cool. It makes you a lot tankier, and especially if you run a tanky comp with someone like red Griamore or red Arthur or Twigod, all of those, HP synergies or HP related stat synergies are going to synergize even further with HP food. On top of that, HP is one of the base stats, attack, defense, HP, so that is going to contribute to your CC. So you can sort of see HP food as the sort of better, more efficient version of combat class food. Now, I'm not actually going to include combat class food in this video, although you can use this if you want to like do a meme video, or if you want to scare people with like 200k CC and you want them to forfeit. Sometimes people, if you're very low CC, just because you're a newer player, you have to use combat class food to try to go first. Kingdom teams sometimes want to go first to get those petrifies off early and snowball. There's different reasons to use combat class food, but I don't think it's as popular as anything else. But I think that the HP food is a really good alternative and kind of like a hedge, because it still gives you value. It gives you 10% HP, and it also gives you some CC. I'm going to eat this here so you can see here. I'm at 150.45, and if I consume this, I jumped almost 6,000 CC. That's a huge difference, on top of the fact that I made my Hauser so thick. He's the thickest boy now. So yeah, really important food. I would not underestimate this, and I know it's sweaty to use non-coin food, but I really personally like HP food. And I think you should consider it for yourself for PvP, especially if you're running beefy units like, like I said, Red Arthur, Red Griamore, Red Twigo, or if you're running subs like Marmus or Jillian and stuff like that, who give one particular type like Mono Green, Mono Blue, 30% HP or HP related stats. So after that, we have the 4th most popular food. I actually don't have it here. I should have cooked it up for you guys, but it is Evasion Food. And it basically lets you evade 1 attack at the start of the battle. So it's usually, I can't remember what the food looks like. I should go and cook it for you guys now so you can see what it looks like. But Evasion Food was really popular when Global first came out. So if you have been playing this game since March 3rd, then you know exactly what Evasion Food is. But now the way the meta has moved, well, to be honest, Evasion Food might be making a comeback. But for now, Evasion Food has basically evaded its way out of the meta. It's gone. I haven't seen, and until today, I hadn't seen Evasion Food for weeks or months, but actually today I saw Evasion Food for the first time, and I was blown away. So here, Egg and Chips. Evades an attack or debuff skill, limit once. So this one limit is 1 attack. So it's not 1 attack for each character, it's just 1 attack. So if Escanor bops 1 character and then Escanor bops another character, or even bops the same character twice, only the first bop will get evaded. If the enemy does an AoE, like Blue Demon Melee or Hauser, then everyone on the team evades that first attack. That is why I think Evasion Food is actually going to make a comeback in the meta, because of how prevalent these AoE teams are. Because especially if the enemy starts off with an AoE, they're gonna lose a lot of damage. Like if they open up with Blue Demon Melee's his Hellblaze attack, his enchant Hellblaze, that is gonna cut their damage down by like 50% if they miss that first attack. It was very popular to use Evasion Food when the game first came out, or shortly after the game first came out, because of Green Bond and his Snatch. Lots of teams would start with Bond Snatch into his whip, his first skill, and then go on in something else. So being able to dodge the Snatch and being able to dodge the Extort really crippled Bond teams and really made him a lot less powerful than he was. Obviously, Bond has left the meta. Jericho's kind of left the meta as well. You can dodge her bleed if she starts off with the bleed, trying to go into the flash attack. So that's why the Evasion Food was so popular. But I do think it will make a comeback a little bit with the way that the meta is now with these crazy AoE Pierce teams. And especially against Escanor, actually, evasion is not bad. If Escanor tries to do a fireball into Ikimus, like the elegant blow, you dodge the fireball. Not only do you dodge the damage, but you dodge the ignite, so you're not taking 10% more damage. It's actually not bad. You can even do it if you have a very aggressive Kingbrum team and they arrow into Petrify, you dodge that Petrify. That can cripple, that can really crush their strategy, or if you're getting attack sealed a lot. So Evasion Food actually has a lot of value. It's very hard to play around Evasion Food. Well, it's not hard to play around Evasion Food, but it's hard to constantly play around it because you might end up sort of playing suboptimally. But that is something you should always consider in the back of your mind. If you can, if you have, you know, almost as good of a play where you can play a weaker card first, like let's say you play Hauser's Super Cyclone and then you play his Pierce card. The Super Cyclone, if it gets evaded, it's not a big deal. His Pierce card is really where you hit that damage, where you get that juicy numbers. Or if you have a character that's just not as strong, or if you're just trying to build ult, so you drop a level 1 King Petrified just to build his ult, not to do anything special, you can sort of bait out or check to see if they have evasion before you go into your strategy and before you start, playing the cards that you need to land in order to get your strategy going. So after Evasion Food, what do we have next? Well, I think we have Defense Food. I put Defense Food a little bit ahead of Attack Food. Now, I don't think any of these are very popular at all. I think these are, really small minority players who try really different comps. I know Kabatu likes to use different kinds of food like this. There's obviously a place in the meta for, do I not have Defense Food? Yeah. There's obviously a place in the meta for Defense Food or Attack Food, especially if you build a very defensive team like Mono Red, or if you have Green Gil Thunder backline. Adding 20% defense on top of everything else really makes those characters super tanky. I don't really need to go into a big explanation. You get it. It's 20% defense. But like HP Food, this also adds to your CC. So you can consider that. So actually, I want to see here. 155,999. If I eat Defense Food, what happens? 152. So it doesn't add quite as much, but it adds almost 3,000 CC. That's not bad at all. Similarly, you have Attack Food. It's not going to be 20% like defense, unfortunately, but it is going to be 10%. That can be really good, especially if you're running a lot of units that don't do a lot of damage. It can help them out, like Red Slater doesn't do much damage. There's a couple of other units that just don't hit very hard. So if you can help bump them up, that can really go a long way. Or if you just want to make your strong units like Escanor even stronger, if you really just want to shock your opponent. And like I said, because it's a base stat, it's going to increase your CC. So there's always value there for, getting you a little bit closer to going first, guaranteed against whatever opponent you match up against. Finally, for the foods that I do see people using in PvP and that I do think we will see more of in the future, we have Pierce Rate Food. Now, this one will not apply to your CC, but this one will give you 20% extra Pierce. And you can actually use this now if you're running a Hauser Blue Melee team, and it is toxic. It is absolutely disgusting to do this. Trust me, I'm not even going to explain why. Just try it and see how disgusting it is, especially in elite PvP. The Pierce doesn't really do much in normal PvP, just like Hauser doesn't really do much in normal PvP, and Blue Melee is not as good. But the Pierce rate in Geared is crazy. And especially when we get Blue Lilia, and then especially when we start getting counters for the Pierce, like Green Valenti and Red Skinny King, this is going to be the way to overcome those counters, is to go back and use Pierce Food. Oh, you're going to lower my Pierce? I'm going to raise it up even higher. You're going to use more defense? I'm going to use a bigger gun. So that's just kind of how it goes. The last food that I want to talk about today, which is actually probably one of the reasons why I wanted to make this video, it's so interesting, is a food that I doubt many players at all are using because it's kind of inefficient and because you have better things to spend your Fight Festival coins on. But if you go to the Fight Festival and you wander around this menu, you will find these foods over here. And you're like, what is this? This is like a stack of coins and this is some wine. So this is Taste of Defeat. You don't lose any points. This is not your coins, but the actual points. You don't lose any points if you lose a battle. And it costs 50 coins to buy this, and you can buy 5 per day. But again, you can refresh. They are cooking, but you cannot actually cook them. They don't have ingredient lists. So you have to purchase these with your Fight Festival coins, which is why I don't think most players are using them. And for the most part, it's better to just keep playing. You'll eventually win. If you're not winning at least 50% of your matches, there's something you should do to your PvP team to change it, rather than relying on this to climb. But on the flip side, these, I think, are used by some of the top players. And I think these will, I basically know from the JP server and from wise JP veterans that these will be used in the future of Global. And I'll explain what I'm talking about now. So I'm going to refer to two things here. I'm going to refer to a tweet by Nagatu, who is here on JP server. And this is the sort of top 100 PvP. Really, really cool thing. It should be coming to global in the future. It's not here yet, but this is essentially another PvP on top of Elite and Normal that you get to participate in if you are already at Challenger rank for Elite. I believe that's how it works, but I'm not 100% sure. There's also a video about PvP tournaments that I've watched by Sekapoko, which is amazing, and he goes into obviously more depth than you can go into with 280 characters on Twitter. There's just, you know, it's not really comparable, and he explains things, and he really goes into depth about why you absolutely need to use, in a lot of cases, you need to use Toast of Victory. So huge shout out to Nagatu and Sekapoko. Thank you for your knowledge. You absolutely have to use Toast of Victory, because in those matches, the way that it works is you're fighting for top 100, but you all have a limited number of battles. I believe everyone gets 100 fights. So just winning 100 fights with alt gauge food is not going to cut it, because you're only going to be getting a certain number of points per win. So if one player just drinks Toast of Victory once and wins, doesn't even need to win as many times as you, they're going to get more points they're going to get 300% more points for that one win. Now, obviously, you don't get any points if you lose. You actually, well, you lose points. So the Toast of Victory only has value if you win. But even if you only win 70% of the time, 70% of the time, unless you win, I mean, even if you win 100% of the time, you're probably not going to have as many points as me by the end of it, because with those 70 wins out of 100, I got 300% more points. So instead of getting, I think, like 15 points for a victory, I think you get like 75 points. So you skyrocket. So if you are sort of struggling, or if you're running out of time, let's say on the last day of the week before the reset, and you're really trying to push, you know, especially in Elite PvP, the rewards are pretty stark between Challenger and Champion. So if you're at Champion 1 and you drink a couple Toasts of Life to try to jump up to Challenger, I think that's kind of worth it, man. 1,000 coins? Definitely, right? You're spending 50 coins per Toast of Victory, but if you're going to get that return by winning a couple of matches and you just don't have time, or you just don't have enough PvP fights left in you to do that, then yeah, Toast of Victory makes sense. Otherwise, right now on Global, it doesn't really make sense to do Toast of Victory or Toast of Defeat, but it will make sense to use Toast of Victory in the future. So these are all my tips for the types of PvP food that you should eat. There are obviously other types of PvP food that you can use. You can use crit resistance, you can use lifesteal food. This is not like a full exhaustive list, but I think a lot of the other ones just aren't quite as good at the end of the day. Obviously, things like XP or gold gain have zero value. And these are the ones, I covered the ones that you're going to see and going to need to use and then understand how to play against the most. So let me know what you guys think of the different foods, the coin food. And let me know what you want to see next on the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.